California is facing a series of challenges, from wildfires and homelessness to housing shortages and a $12 billion deficit. Cue the 26th election for governor, and one of the prime contenders, former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. He believes the state's best days are ahead if Californians are unafraid to deal with the here and now. From Ballard Studios in West Hollywood, California, with host Anthony Williams, it's 13th and Park.
The hard things that are necessary, we either do it or we'll pay the price down the road.
That often is missing in politics.
We have to solve everything.
It's a nightmare.
You and I can differ, but that doesn't mean you and I cannot be friends.
I have faith in the American people.
Those are the facts.
The Illuminati, right there. Aliens could have invaded and nothing would surprise me at this point.
We went from North Korea to M&M. That's a lot, man.
What's in this tea? Mayor, it's so great to have you. This is a privilege and an honor. I've watched you as a staff person and as a lobbyist.
30 years
30
ago.
years, man. It's so wild. And I watched you as mayor do things different. And I personally am just glad to know that you're still interested in giving your energy and time to the people of California. We need it. But I want to start with the question that everybody is talking about right now. What is wrong with the Democratic Party and the message? And how, even in a so-called blue state like California, you can't make assumptions about how people are going to vote. This last primary showed that.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. Public service is in my blood.
Yeah.
I was 15 years old and I helped to start the Black Student Union and United Mexican American Students. I was involved in the farm worker boycott. I was standing up for immigrants as a young man. And I think growing up in the 1960s, you have this sense of change and optimism about the world and that you want to change that world for the better. You know, I'm running for governor because I think this is a state of endless possibilities, but enormous challenges. And I think we've lost our way. When I was Speaker of the Assembly, I got 2 budgets on time with a surplus. We gave the middle class and working people a big tax break. In fact, the biggest tax break in the 1990s. Largest expansion of healthcare since Medi-Cal. Was the author. The toughest, sensible gun legislation. I was the author of the assault weapons ban. Become mayor, and, you know, LA was one of the most violent big cities in America. I helped to make it one of the safest. Nearly 50% drop in violent crime. 1 out of 3 schools were failing. We increased the graduation rate by 60%. LA's known for its dirty air. We were the #1 American city in reducing carbon emissions, #5 in the world. And so I have a track record, and I think we're looking for a problem solver, someone with a record to back up what they say they're going to do.
Right.
And what do we need to do? I think it's pretty clear. We need to address a housing and homeless crisis that is out of control. We need to address the fact that we're not building anymore. Mm-hmm. We're not building infrastructure. We're not building housing. We need to address the high cost of living. The cost of gas is too high. The cost of utilities gone up 66%. The cost of housing, second highest in the country. People are saying we need a government that's focused on me. So, to answer your question about the Democratic Party, I think it's important. Whenever there's a big crisis and a big event, a disaster, you do a thing called after-action report. Mm-hmm. I think you're familiar with those.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to do an after-action report.
Yeah.
We lost the middle class.
Right.
We're focused on things that, while important to people that work hard every day, they're worried about the cost of gas. They're worried about the cost of living. And we weren't focused on those things. Mm-hmm. I think we were focused too much on Trump. And I think that hurt us. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important and healthy for our party to have those kinds of discussions.
Yeah.
To have those debates.
Why do you think they voted for him? I mean, what? Yeah,
he sold them a bill of goods.
Yeah.
He sold them, I'm hearing you.
Right.
I'm listening to you.
Right.
He spoke to what people's concerns were.
Right.
And we weren't. You know, we didn't talk enough about our accomplishments, about the fact that the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act was the most far-reaching effort to build infrastructure since Eisenhower's National Highway System. We didn't talk about how the Inflation Reduction Act was going to put so many people to work on infrastructure, which last time I looked in America is falling apart under Democratic and Republican administrations. We didn't talk enough about what we were going to do. We just focused on an anti-Trump message, and that didn't work.
Obviously, California is seen as a deep blue state. You know as well as I do that those superficial measures don't tell the real story about where people are. And I talked about Prop 36, rolling back some of the things that we had done to lessen criminal penalties and stuff. And then voters said, no, we don't want to do that. And so California is definitely capable of being more purple than blue on a lot of issues. And the economics and bread and butter is, I think, one of those that will resonate for people.
I knew this as a legislator,
Yeah.
but I really got to know this as mayor. Responsibility, number one, of a mayor, of a governor, or the president is the security of its people.
Yeah.
Public safety.
Yep.
I led the effort against 3 strikes, you're out when I was in the legislature. And almost anybody that remembers those years, it was me. This notion of putting everybody in jail per capita in absolute numbers more than any other country in the world did not resonate. That's why I've always
Didn't
been
make us
so
more
focused.
safe.
It didn't make us more safe.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always focused on education as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you something. Prop 36 was simple. It said if you get arrested for selling a small quantity of drugs or ingesting, you refuse rehab the first time, no issues.
Right.
Second time, no issues. Third time, you're going to jail. Not for 20 years, but for enough time to do a self-assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I need help.
Yeah.
If I had a family member who was addicted, the first time I'd be all in and helping them
Yeah.
with resources, with support, with everything I have. Second time, I might have done it again.
Mm-hmm.
Third time, I said, you need to learn a lesson. That's why I voted for 36.
Yeah.
And I think it says something about the rest of them that none of them had the courage to do that. Because party orthodoxy was, we're against 3 strikes, you're out. So we were 447. So we got to be against this.
Yeah.
And that's what comes, I think, with being around.
Yeah. I love this. Yeah, that's right.
You learn a few things
Exactly.
over the years. If something's not working,
Yeah.
then maybe we got the problem.
Right. You try the idealism first, and that's great.
Yeah.
But at some
if
point,
it's not working,
Yeah.
you got to evaluate
Yep.
and repurpose,
Yeah.
move in another direction.
Yeah.
And you got to be nimble when you do that.
Yeah.
You can't be an idle.
Right. Right.
You know, I've said on homelessness as an example, you know, right after the governor supported the grants pass decision, they said they wanted me to criticize him. I said, I'm not criticizing him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's saying he wants to criminalize homelessness, and I certainly don't either. I don't believe in criminalizing homeless. I do believe in compassion, but I don't believe in chaos.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, Anthony,
Yeah.
what we see on the streets
100%.
of California is chaos. People selling drugs in front of cops? No, you can't doing that.
Right.
A toilet just 2 doors away and you're defecating in front of kids and families,
Right.
putting tents in front of schools and in parks. That's what the advocates are arguing, that they should be able to go anywhere.
Right.
We know what neighborhoods they're going to go to. And I say it's unacceptable.
Right.
That is not criminalizing homeless. That is not somehow incompassionate.
Mm-hmm.
It is saying there's a limit to all of that.
Right.
And so what I liked about Grants Pass, it gives us flexibility. If you got a bed and resources available to you, you don't have a right to be on a sidewalk.
Right. Because what's more criminal than letting people sleep on the streets?
Well, that's what I say. What is so humane
right
about people
Exactly.
sleeping in their poop?
Yeah.
Come on.
You know, we have a housing crisis. We have an infrastructure crisis, as you know, that was made bare by the fires. There's a lot that's being done. The governor took some steps pretty early to remove some of the barriers to building and permitting challenges like CEQA. Why is that only used during a crisis? And why aren't we looking clearly at that as a broader challenge with our infrastructure and housing needs?
Because we let the perfect get in the way of the good. You mentioned the governor. And I
Yeah.
want to thank him.
Yeah.
He made me infrastructure advisor.
Right.
He called me czar.
Yeah.
I said early on, if we don't revisit CEQA in a thoughtful way that protects the environment,
Mm-hmm.
but moves these projects along, I said Texas and Florida are going to pass us up in drawing down IIJA, Infrastructure Investment Job Act, IRA funds, Inflation Reduction Act, and the CHIPS Act funds. So I say, when you're in a crisis, suspend it.
Yeah.
Let's build.
Yeah.
And importantly, you got to hold people accountable if they're not moving ahead.
Yeah.
It is unacceptable to year after year say we're going to build housing and not do it.
Right.
We're going to build infrastructure and not do it. Texas and Florida, which didn't vote, whose representatives in large part did not vote for those bills, are drawing down more money for infrastructure than we are. Which is why I've been taking on someone with 100% record when I was in the legislature on the environment. I'm the author of the Carl Moyer Act. The Carl Moyer Act was the biggest effort to clean up the air since the Clean Air Act and AB 32 and SB 32.
Right.
Number one American city, reducing carbon emissions. My effort to clean up the port, the biggest emitter in Southern California of carcinogens, number one in the world, the greenest port in the world, used the same amount of water than we did in 1970. So anyone wants to say, because I'm challenging what's broken, that I'm doing it because I don't believe in climate change, they don't understand climate change. What I say, and I say this for housing and homelessness, don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. We've been around. There's no perfect. So what I'm saying is, before we get rid of oil and gas, we got to build transmission lines. We're 10th in the Western states in terms of building transmission lines. We need to streamline CEQA so that we're building faster than anyone.
Right.
And under my governorship, we will.
When it comes to meeting our transportation needs in the state, obviously, I don't think I'm wrong to say you and I both agree that cars are essential to our transportation system. And we all want clean air, like you said. But public transportation, we have a good system. We don't have a great system. We're falling far behind. How did we miss the boat on that? And how can we, I know Highspeed Rail is controversial and, the governor's doubled down on it just like he did on the water fix. Maybe he listened to you a little bit.
We actually agree on a number of things in this regard. And, people like to focus on what we disagree on.
Right.
But, that happens.
Yeah.
I've been supporting high-speed rail since the 90s.
Yeah.
I've been on the Shinkansen in Japan.
Yes.
I've been on the line to Shanghai.
Right.
I've been in Spain and in France.
Yeah.
We got to get into the 21st century.
Right.
Having said that, we have totally messed it up.
Yeah.
I mean, the criticism that we just keep on spending, I think we got to look at what the mistakes we've made. Can we correct them? My hope is that we can, because I believe in high-speed rail. Remember, proven problem solver.
Yeah.
When I was mayor, I said we'd build a subway to the sea. Everybody laughed at me on the campaign trail. Within a year or two, people would say, "Where's your subway to the sea?" And I put together Measure R, $40 billion over 30 years to dramatically expand our light rail and subway system. I did the first transit-oriented development district around transit lines so we could build housing and density along those lines. So I intend to look at this. We got to bring in the private sector. We have a lot of consultants over there. I recognize we got to evaluate the problem, move on it with alacrity and dispatch, move on it hard, not look for perfect. And if we're moving in the wrong direction, recalibrate.
Yeah.
Go in another.
Right.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
We're afraid to say to the public, I made a mistake. Anthony, been around.
Yeah.
I made a few mistakes in my life.
Right.
All you can do is try to learn from them.
Exactly. I do got to ask you, because you were the first one, I think, and maybe the only candidate for office who said, it doesn't matter who's in the race, I'm in it. There are others who think that, it's a foregone conclusion if Harris gets in the race. Just to politic the race a little bit. Why doesn't that worry you?
I've known Kamala for 30 years.
Yeah.
I've supported her for district attorney, attorney general, and I supported this last run for president and the one before that.
Yeah.
So what I'll say is, I think if you want to be governor, you got to really want to do it. And if you really want to do it, get in the race. If you don't want to do it, just say it.
Yeah.
But holding it out, thinking that governor of California is a stepping stone, that we're going to have some kind of coronation when she comes in. I said, we saw a 100-day campaign. How did that turn out for us? I have a lot of respect for all of the people in this race, but none of them, including her, have ever been a chief executive of a global city. It's the second largest city in the country. We're the third largest metropolitan economy. It's Tokyo, New York, LA. I ran a country.
Yeah.
I was a governor for all practical purposes. I've done this before. And I just say, if you're going to come in, you're going to come in. But before you do, this Jake Tapper book has been real clear
Yeah.
that there was a conspiracy among Joe Biden's inner circle to keep from the public just how long he had been deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
We all saw it in the
Yeah,
debate,
right,
but we thought
right.
maybe it was a
Yeah.
bad day. And we
Yeah.
saw it in his gait. We saw it in, the malapropisms,
Mhm.
but it was always ascribed to that's Joe.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that this book chronicles the lengths to which they went to hide this, I think she claims she had lunch with him every week. The notion that she didn't know.
Yeah. There's
And
a
so
trust
I've said-
issue there. Right.
So I've said, what did you know? Said this to Becerra as well,
Mhm.
because he got confused with Mayorkas and he was in the cabinet meetings. I said to both, what did you know? When did you know it? And why didn't you say anything? Not because I want to criticize
Right.
Joe Biden.
Right.
Joe Biden is a good man.
Yeah.
He has been a president who did a lot for this country,
Mhm.
who loves this country.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I am not claiming that any of the people around his inner circle don't love this country. But I know this. They had a responsibility to say something if they
Mhm.
knew about it. So just, what did you know?
Yeah. I think you have a track record as a proven problem solver, as you say. And now you're getting sued for that. What the heck? What is that about?
I've been friends with Stephen Klubeck for 20 years.
Yeah.
He had said to me something to the effect at lunch one day that I was infringing on his trademark, then sent me a cease and desist letter, and then sent me a copy of a complaint he filed in federal court. And, he's a very wealthy guy
Mm-hmm.
and made it clear he's never allowed anybody in all his years in business to infringe on his trademarks. Now, first of all, he's only applied for the trademark. Do you know how many politicians have said proven problem solver in their life? I have a record.
Yeah.
See, that's what he's getting at.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm saying proven problem solver. It's that I have a record to back it up.
Right.
So he wants to use his wealthy bank account to stop me from saying something customary in political campaigns. I'm not the first guy to use this. At first, I said to my folks, I don't want to fight this guy. I can't spend precious campaign resources fighting him in federal court. And then I thought, I want to be governor of California,
Mm.
and I'm not going to stand up to somebody it's not about trademarks.
Yeah.
This is about the First Amendment
Right.
and freedom of speech. He's trying to stop me from talking about my record as a proven problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
So I woke up the next morning and I said to my folks, we're going to court, and we will be in court. This isn't about even my, just a trademark, because I think it's nominally a trademark case. It doesn't even have the trademark yet. I have fought my entire life for the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment, and I'm not going to let some bully try to silence me in the way that Trump's doing with the press and law firms, because that's really what he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to stop me from talking about my record. I know it feels right now that too many people in politics don't believe in our Constitution, but I do. This country's given me a whole lot,
Yeah.
and I'm going to fight for my First Amendment right.
It's a worthy fight, and it's appreciated. And I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're
Mr.
out there still,
Anthony.
man. I love you. It's good to see you as always, and appreciate you coming in to chat with us.
Well, more importantly, I hope him to come back.
Yeah, let's do it.